Welcome in, everybody. Hello, hello.
Hello, everyone.
We want to respect everybody's time, so we will get going, but I'm sure if one or two more stragglers join us, we'll just wrap them into the work. Welcome today, everybody, to our discussion of our market data. I'm Kirsten. I'm with the New Mexico Farmers Marketing Association. If you wanted to be in a different space on some other topic, you're in the wrong Zoom room. But if you're here to hear about everything we do to help you track what happens at your markets, you're in the right space. I'm Kirsten. I'm joined today by my colleagues, Scott, who is our tech guru, who's going to help us keep things running smoothly. He's also part of the marketing team, so he knows all the ins and outs of helping promote your markets. And then most importantly today, we have Bryan Crawford-Garrett calling in from far away. He is our MERL expert. That, in other words, he's the person on our team that really focuses on evaluating everything we do. So much of what we do relies on funding sources from the outside. And anytime you approach, whether it's a private philanthropist or federal funds or state funds, they want to know what impact we're having and how we're doing. And so Bryan plays a really crucial role. And one of the things he does is oversee this collection of market data that we ask you for every single year. And he's going to explain more about why it's so important to do this work. But just upfront, a big part of the reason we want to know how your market is doing is so that when we go out there looking for ways to support our work, we have the data to back it up. There's just a few of us today, so I thought we could take just a minute to introduce ourselves. If you wouldn't mind giving us your name and where you're calling in from, and then which farmers market or markets you are running or selling at. And let's start with Lisa.
Hello, my name is Lisa Pham. I am with Cuesta Farmers Market. This is my first year, so I am in the mode of learning all the things while managing all the things while, oh my gosh. So, and market is opening. We're, oh my gosh, I think 2 weeks away. We open, I think, well, I don't know, I've lost track of time, but it's coming very quickly. So I am in the absolute swirl of it all, but I'm ready for the market to start where the fun can start kind of coming into the play, because right now it's a lot of information and work. So that's where I am.
Yeah, when the good kudos start coming because you're actually seeing the work happening, and you talk to people and eat all the
Mm-hmm.
food at the market. I'm sure it's gonna get better. Yeah, but
Yes.
thanks for
Thank
slogging
you.
through it, Lisa. It's so important to just slog on through and really
It's
appreciate it.
such an important element for our community. So we're about 40 miles north of Taos, and we are very rural. Not like our market is not only the farmers market and the coming together of accessible, sustainable food, it's also a gathering space of community that's so important. And especially right now, everything is so elevated. So I think that everybody in our area is really excited to have the energy of the market start coming back into play.
That's wonderful. And you have a
Mhm.
beautiful spot.
Yes,
Lori
thank you.
Jameson. We have two Loris. Lori J. If you wouldn't mind coming off mute and introducing yourself.
I'm not getting the little arrow. So I'm Lori Jameson, and I live in Grant County, about 30 miles east of Silver City. And we have the Members Valley Farmers Market. Starts in July, but we just did a big plant sale last weekend.
Awesome. Welcome on board. Have you been at this for a while? It's just your first season.
The manager made me do manager training, so I don't know what that means. But I have been involved in it. This will be the third year.
You're a pro. That's great.
No,
Since we're on the theme of Lori's, how about Lori Magoon?
Hi, folks. I'm with the Abiquiu Farmers Market, brand new this year, helping Lupita Salazar.
Thanks. All right, gentlemen. Fidel. Looks like he's been putting stuff in chat. Fidel says he's going to be working in Farmington this year, which is great. So that makes his second market. Thank you, Fidel. And Kirtland. Ron, my friend, how are you?
Wonderful. Can't complain. And if I did, nobody would care anyway.
No, we wouldn't listen to you anyway. Go ahead. Let's hear. You want to share out where you're coming from?
Yeah, so right now I'm sitting in Rinconada, which is on the Rio Grande at the house, and I have the Rio Grande Farmers Market, which will be at Sugars this year. For the second year at Sugars, this year I actually have a machine, so we'll do the snap and double up, and of course I got WIC. I don't know about the rest. We'll see. I've got a couple committed already. I sent the email out yesterday, so we'll see. We'll see. And this is gosh, I don't know, fourth or fifth year or something like that. I don't know. I used to drink, so.
Welcome back. We're glad you're here. All right. Well, with that, everybody, I'm going to hand it off to Bryan to sort of walk us through collecting market data. Oh, we have a new.
Actually, Kirsten, yeah, we've got one more person.
Do you say your name, Cicada?
Yeah, Cicada.
Cicada, do you want to just let us know where you're calling in from and what market you're associated with?
Yeah, I am going to be helping out with the Shiprock Farmers Market this year.
Awesome. Well, welcome on board. We're really glad you're here.
Thank you.
And we'll have Bryan take us into everything market data.
All right, thanks, Kirsten. And hi, everyone. As Kirsten mentioned, I'm Bryan. I manage the market data collection process, and we'll go through a lot of information today. If there's questions, feel free to put them in the chat, or just raise your hand or interrupt, and we can kind of go through questions along the way if you'd like. And then we'll also have some time at the end to do some questions. And after this webinar, we'll be sure to post the recording on the website. And then if you have questions along the way as you're going through your season, we're always here to support and help help you address and find ways to solve whatever questions or problems you may be having. So with that, I think we can start going through our slides, Scott. And again, this is going to be a lot of information. It will be shared after the webinar. And what we're going to walk through today, if we can start on the agenda, is we're going to just briefly touch on what market data is and why it's important. We're going to talk through the survey details for this year, 2026, and then introduce you all to a tool that we have to help you track your market data through the season. It's an optional tool, but it is there for folks to use on our website. So market data, what it is, why it's important. Next slide. So really it's documenting key data and information that comes from each of your farmers markets. This includes sales, customer counts, vendor counts, and other types of information. And we do this for farmers market members, as well as other local food outlets around the state, such as CSAs, farm stands, and mobile markets. And it can be useful for your own individual market, and it also can be useful for us to look at aggregated across all markets that we work with. Next slide. And so this tracks sales, as I mentioned, customer counts, other data for your individual market and markets across the state. It can help show impacts on local economies and communities and agriculture in our state. And it provides really important information, as Kirsten said at the outset, for advocacy at the state level, and also for accessing state and federal funding, as well as private money. Next slide. The uses also can include identifying progress, growth, and trends over time, both individually as well as collectively. And this can include strengths as well as areas for improvement or future growth. It can help evaluate what changes might help improve the market. It could be used for attracting new vendors or customers, and really just help all of us learn and improve in the work that we're doing. So in terms of, we'll switch now to market data survey, the information and what you'll need and how to prepare it. If we can go to the next one, Scott. Thank you. And so we have everything on our website. It's on a market data page, and Scott's going to now show how to get to that page from our home page. Scott, take it away.
All right. Can you confirm you can see our website after the little switcheroo there? Awesome. So this is our membership website, everyone. This is where you'll find member-specific news. We do have some other websites, but this is where you're going to find a lot of resources pertinent to market data and some other things as well. So from our homepage, you can navigate up here to the resources menu, and then you want to access farmers market and manager resources. And there's a whole slew of different things here for you to check out, some fun stuff like logo downloads, Canva templates, etc. But you'll also find our market data page right here.
Great, thanks, Scott. And then Scott, if you can scroll down just a little bit further. Yeah, great, perfect. So here we have kind of in the middle of this page, collecting market data for farmers markets. And we have the resources that are available, including a how-to guide, which is a PDF document that makes it easier to collect data throughout the season. It provides tips and helpful kind of hints, as well as explanations for how to get to the data that you'll need for the market data survey. And we're going to look through, excuse me, we're going to look through some of this in just a little bit. And then there's also this market data survey helper, which is an Excel spreadsheet that helps track the data that you're going to need. And it helps track throughout the season. And we'll also look through that in just a bit. And then in the next little section there, we have the survey itself. And this can be taken either online through a SurveyMonkey link, or we have a form that you can download and print off and fill out by hand, and then send to us either an email version or send to the NMFMA by mail. So you have two ways to take the survey, either through SurveyMonkey or by the download and the print version. And the survey is going to be due at the end of December, so not till the end of the calendar year. But the reason we're having these webinars now is because a lot of the data that you'll need for the survey, you're going to want to be tracking throughout the season. And so that's why it's important to have this information up front to help you be able to track the information that you'll need for the survey during your market season. So again, the survey will be due December 31st, and we recommend that you submit it shortly after your market season has ended for the year, and that you're tracking your data throughout the season. All right, Scott, if we can go back to the slides. So again, the resources are the how-to guide, the survey helper, and then the surveys, links for the survey itself. Next slide. I think we went over this already, so next slide. And so we're now going to get into what is in the survey, what's being asked. And then during this section, I'll also, as we go through what's being asked, show some of what's in the how-to guide to help provide additional information on what we ask for. So there's 7 sections, and we'll go through each of these in just a moment. And you'll see in the print version and also the SurveyMonkey version, there's some questions in red. Most of the questions are in red, and that means those questions are required for responding. Next slide. So section 1 is market basics, just the basic information about your market, name of the market, contact information, and name of the market manager. And then if someone else who is not the market manager is responding, we ask for their first and last name as well. So this is just, the basics to get things started on the survey. That's section 1. Next slide. And then section 2 is about market days. So we're going to be asking your opening date for your market in 2026, your closing date, if your market was open year round. And by year round, we mean, all months, all 12 months of the year. And then the total number of days your market was open in 2026. And here we include an example. If you had a market that was open 25 weeks between May and October, your total market days would be 25. If it was open 2 days a week during those same 25 weeks, then you would just multiply that, 25 times 2, and then your total market days would be 50. So that's the market days section. Okay, then we get into the fun stuff. Section 3 is customer counts. And we're going to ask for the total estimated customer count for the season for 2026 for each day your market met. So if your market only meets 1 day a week, you'll only need to fill out, one row in this table where we have, Monday through Sunday, each of the 7 days of the week. If your market meets multiple days during the week, then you would need to fill out or you would need to provide one number for each of the days of the week that it meets. Next slide. So the total customer count, what you're providing, and this information comes from the how-to guide. It's the total estimated number of customers visiting your market in the year. And you'll be asked to supply a single grand total for each day of the week your market is open. And as I mentioned, if your market meets more than once a week, you'll need to calculate the grand total for each day of the week your market operates. Next slide. And in the how-to guide, we provide some methods for recommending calculating the customer count. So our suggestion is during at least 4 different and random days during your season that you take a customer count. And then once you have those days, you can add those 4 numbers or more, however many you've taken, you can add those up. And then you'll divide that by the number of days that you did a customer count. And that's going to give you your average customer count for a market day. And then to calculate the total, you're going to multiply the customer average by the number of days your market was open. And that's going to give you your customer count for that day of the week that the market was open. So we give an example in the how-to guide of 4 different customer counts that are taken throughout a season. They give a total of 890. And then to get the average, we divide that by 4 because that's how many counts were taken, and get a number there of 223. And then we multiply that times 25 weeks. This is for the market open, between May and October for 25 weeks. So that's kind of how you would go about calculating your customer count for each day of the week that your market is meeting. And all of this information is in the how-to guide, as I mentioned. Next slide. Then we also give suggestions on how to do the actual customer counts at your markets. A couple of possibilities, and these are two of many different ways that this can be done, but a couple of possibilities depend, and a lot of it also depends on the size of your market. It depends on how many entrances you might have and that sort of thing. One is, to count the actual numbers of customers or visitors present once an hour and write it down, and then add up the counts at the end of the day. A second idea is to, use a counter clicker and click the number of people that walk in for the entire market day. If you have more than one main entrance, you could post a volunteer at each entrance. And we also suggest that you could have the same person do this calculation and the customer count each time throughout the season. And that can help them provide experience and also, accuracy and consistency through the season. We recognize these are estimates. I think that's really important to emphasize that we recognize these are estimates, and none of this information will be perfect, but it's just trying to do the best that each market can with the resources that you have and the guidance provided, so that we can get customer count and other data estimated for your market. Next slide. So the vendor counts is the next section, section 4 on the survey. And we're going to be asking two pieces of information here. The first is the total number of individual vendors who participated in your market during the season, during 2026. So this should be the total number of individuals who are on your vendor list or your market roster for the season. And then we also are going to ask for the average number of vendors who were present each day the market was open. And there's a way to calculate this number here, just adding up the number of vendors present each day and then dividing that by the number of market days that your market was open. Okay, I see Ron put something in the chat about clickers. Ron, do you want to just come off mute for a second and talk us through that comment?
Yeah, I just got these little, I can't make them show up because they keep disappearing in my background. There they go. It's just a little metal clicker. It's a manual. I got it because it doesn't have batteries, nothing to wear out. And I started doing it a couple of years ago, and it's good to have the data for you, but it's great to have the data for me to see how many we got. I used to think that numbers meant money, but it doesn't. So.
Yeah, no, that's helpful, right? Because you can kind of see how many people are coming through, and also look at sales and kind of compare those. And yeah, absolutely, it can be very helpful for the market. So that's one way is using the manual clicker. So thanks for that, Ron. Okay, so getting back to the vendor counts. Next slide, Scott. So this is the information that's going to be in the how-to guide on the vendor counts. And as I mentioned, we're asking for these two pieces of information: the total number of individual vendors, and then the average number of vendors. And the how-to guide also gives some examples, if you need it, for what this calculation for the average number can look like. Next slide. So the next section is just one question on the percentage of farmers and ranchers at your market. So what we're going to be asking is the percent of vendors at your market that are farmers and ranchers on any given market day. And again, this is an estimate, this is approximate, but we want to know, of all the vendors at your market on any given day, about how many or about what percent are farmers and ranchers are producing and selling, agricultural products. And then we define this for farmers and ranchers, meaning those vendors selling any amount or quantity of fruits, vegetables, meat, eggs, cheese, grain, legumes, nuts, honey, or other agricultural products they've grown or produced themselves. And this percent figure is one of the things that's used for calculating promotional funds and the reimbursement amount, if that is applicable to your market. So it helps us not only understand, about how many vendors are farmers and ranchers at your market, but also it helps with the promotional fund calculation. Next slide. And then, so section 6 is going to ask about sales, and we ask for 2 points of information here. One is going to be the total agricultural sales in US dollars for your market during the season. And then the other is going to be non-agricultural sales. And the non-agricultural sales are things like processed foods, baked goods, arts and crafts, those types of items. And then the ag sales are things that, locally produced agricultural products that vendors are selling. And then I'm going to talk through a little bit more of the sales information here as well. Next slide, Scott. So from our how-to guide, again, this is the information you'll find there. You'll be asked for the total sales, agricultural sales, and the non-agricultural sales, those two data pieces. Next slide. And then how to get the sales information. So we suggest doing this at a minimum of once each month. And hold on a second. Can you all hear me okay? Okay, I thought my audio went out for a second. You're going to want to do the sales at least once each month, but you could consider doing it more often to get more accurate data and more accurate number. And we have sales slips that can be used as handouts that are included at the end of the how-to guide, and I'll show an example of those in just a moment. But yeah, we have that separate handout that's in the last page of the how-to guide, sales slips in both English and Spanish. And we recommend handing those out to your vendors at least once a month. And then collecting those forms from your vendors. And you're going to calculate, within those forms, you can calculate ag sales and non-ag sales. And at the end of the season, you can determine an average monthly sales amount and then multiply the number of that by the number of months that your market was meeting. And then that can give you your total sales for the season. This is one way you can do it. There are a number of different ways for getting the market data. This sales slips we provide are not, required for use. It's, one option that you can use, and I know other markets have other ways that they do it. But it is one way that you can collect that information from vendors. So Scott, let's go to the next slide, and this is just an example of the sales slip, the English version at the top, and then the Spanish version at the bottom. And as you can see, this provides space for different A and B are the different types of agricultural products, and then C and D are the non-agricultural products. And it includes a date. It's anonymous, so vendors aren't having to put their names on this or anything like that, but it's a way to collect their sales information from the market. So I'm gonna stop here for a moment and see if there's any questions or additional comments from folks who have been doing this for a little while, or kind of tricks of the trade that you might have used if you have experience with this. Yeah, Ron.
Yeah, with the last farmers market, I used to charge $10 a time, and then it was also at the Black Mesa Winery, so we also gave them drink tickets. So I gave them an envelope with the drink tickets, and at the end of the day, they gave me the envelope back with the $10 in there, and then kind of wrote on it, anonymously, just an estimate of what they made.
Yeah, so that was how you tracked the sales information, was getting it from them when they provided their their vendor fee for the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Historically, ours, and I'm just learning this, but this is a process that's in place that they did at the Cuesta, is she has a little form like you just sent that all of the vendors have, and their booth fee is based on how much money they make. So it's based on how much revenue they bring in, but then we just enter it into a Google form. And so it automatically just calculates and tracks everything throughout the season.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
I know other markets rely on their volunteers to do a lot of this kind of stuff. So, if they do use our forms, they'll have a volunteer handing those forms out to the vendors and collecting them again. Just, not trying to put everything on one pair of shoulders. But, the market managers carry a lot. Welcome in, Alon. Is that how you say your name?
Yes, that's correct. Sorry, I had a hard time finding the link today, but tried to join as soon as I could get in.
Great. You're very welcome to be here. Where are you calling in from, and what market are you associated with, Alon?
I'm in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I have a new market we're working on in Bernalillo at a cactus brewery.
Awesome. That's great. Welcome in.
Yeah, welcome, Alon. And Alon, I mentioned this before you joined, but a recording will be posted to our website, and the resources from today's webinar will be available. So you can always go back and listen to it as needed. So Scott, if we can go back to the slides, we're gonna just walk through the rest of the survey and then look at the survey helper. So this was the slips for the sales that are in the how-to guide. And then next slide. Section 7 is just a few additional questions that are included on the survey. This is asking about, market managers or other staff who are paid during the season, the range of payment that a market manager may have received during the season, the number of volunteers, and then a couple of questions on vendor fees. And this last set of questions are optional, but encouraged so that we have a sense of this information as well. Next slide. So I'm now going to turn and just walk us through the market data survey helper, which is available as a resource that you all can use if it's helpful, and it helps track your market information through the season for all of what's needed in 4 of the sections of the survey. So actually, Scott, if we can keep on the slides for another couple minutes. Thanks. Yeah, so it includes information that is going to help fill in the market data for the number of market days, the customer counts, vendor counts, and sales. And we have 2 tabs that are within the helper. The first tab is this one that you're seeing on the screen now, and it's going to give you information on market days, customers, average vendors per market day, and sales. Yeah, next slide. And this is, so the last slide was showing kind of what's included in at the top of the helper. And then this shows some notes and then a workspace for making calculations. And we're going to walk through an example with some fictional data in just a minute, but this is kind of how the helper looks in the first tab. Next slide, Scott. And then the second tab is just a vendor or roster list to give you the total number of vendors. Yeah, so that is also there as part of the survey helper. And now I'm going to show some data from, I've opened a market this year, and I'm going to show you how it's doing. I'll share, let's see, Scott, if you can let me share now. Okay, you all should see my Bryan's 2026 market data. So this is the market that I've opened and I've tracked, throughout the season, starting with market days. If you look over here on the left-hand side, these numbers are pre-populated, and then I filled in the dates. My market starts May 16th, and then I filled in the dates for going all the way through the end of October. And so I can see here that's going to be 25 days that my market has met. And so for market days, I know from tracking here, the opening date was May 16th. The closing date was October 31st. There's a question about, did your market meet year round? So I can say, no, it wasn't year round. And then I know that there was 25 days that it met. And then for customers, I took, 4 counts during the season, about once a month. And then you can see those counts here. And then at the bottom here, that has added up. This is a formula that's set in the file. So it's added up the number of customers here for the 4 times that I took the count. And then if I go down to the workspace, I can do my calculation here for the customer count. So I've got my total from those 4 counts. My average is going to be the total divided by 4. And then the end customer count for my market for the season is the average times the number of market days. So that's the 25. And that gives me my estimated customer count for the season. So this workspace, is available here to do some calculations for the customer count. And then for vendors, the number of vendors here in column D, you can track how many vendors there were for each day that the market meets. And so as you can see, I've got a range here from, low 20s, 22, all the way up to 35, I think was the highest number. Oh, and actually 17 the last day. So from 17 to 35 are my number of vendors during the season. This is also going to add up down here. This calculation is in the file. And then to get the average number of vendors, I can go down to a workspace here. The total is coming from above 676. And then my number of market days was 25. And then dividing that out, we get an average of 27 per market day. So that provides you with the average number of vendors. And then for sales, I did my sales counts once a month. And so you can see I've just, for the first month, it was 4,000 for agricultural and 2,000 for non-agricultural. And so I've just put that in for each of the first 4 weeks. And I did my sales, monthly and put in the totals for each month. And then this will, add it up down here at the bottom of the tracker. And so that formula is also in the spreadsheet. So that would give, my sales information for agricultural and non-agricultural sales. And then this other tab is simply, if you need a place to put your vendor roster, you can add it in here and the numbers are pre-populated. So I've got all my vendors in here and I know that I have 40 total vendors for the year. And again, the total number of vendors on my roster, it is going to most likely be slightly different than the average number for, each market day, unless all of my vendors are coming to every market day. But so this vendor roster list gives all of the vendors, who are on my list through the year. And then the average number just shows how many are coming on average for each market day. So that's kind of a walk through the market data helper. I don't know if there's any questions, and this is available also again on the website, on the market data page, and you can download it. And then, if it's helpful, you can use it and, add to it if there are other things that you feel like are needed or that sort of thing. But this is a resource that you all can access and use. Any questions on this or comments? Okay. If no, Scott, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we can go back to our slides. Okay, next. And next one. All right, so just I think now we can wrap up, and just wanted to see if there's any outstanding questions, or if anyone wants to share of kind of key takeaways, or one or two things you may have learned as we've talked through this market data and what's on the survey and the resources available today.
Hi, this is Lori Magoon. I just want to get clear on, I think I know the difference between a rancher and a farmer, but it looks like you're including a lot of the same things for both. So what's the real difference then?
Yeah, so what we're trying to ask for is the percentage of farmers and ranchers.
Okay, so
so
not necessarily
both of
the product.
Yeah, so we're trying to distinguish between vendors that grow food that they're selling. So that could be meat, that could be lettuce, greens, that sort of thing. And that's one group. Those are the farmers and ranchers. And then the other group would be those that sell a craft that they've made, or baked goods and that sort of thing. So it's kind of farmers and ranchers in one group, and then non-farmers and ranchers.
Okay, not farmers and ranchers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, sure.
So you would put the bread and stuff in a different group?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless they're growing their own grain,
Yeah. No, there's only one person I know that did that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I would say the other kind of clarification there is if a vendor has both, ag and non-ag products, we would count them in the farmer and rancher. We would count them as a farmer and rancher because we're really trying to get at like how many vendors are selling at least ag products, right? That they've produced. So if they are selling both, they should be included as a farmer and rancher in that group. Yeah, Lisa, it looked like you had a question as well.
Well, that was my question, was if they sell both. And I've got some that use products that they grow, like if they're growing chilies and they use that into a jam. But if they're selling the chilies, they'd be farmers. But if they're just selling the jam, they wouldn't.
So they're only selling the jam, is that right?
Well, she says, I'm mostly selling the jam, but if I have extras, I'll sell, the garden.
The chili.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It gets tricky, but I think if she's selling
some produce, then I'll put her in the farmer.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I think if it's only jam, I think it's probably a non.
Okay.
It would go in the non-farmer category.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. These are great questions, and thank you all for the questions, and also just being here today. As I mentioned, we'll put these resources on the website, the recording in the next week or two, and also we're available if other questions arise during the season. Hopefully this isn't too difficult. Yeah. I'm getting hungry too, Scott. Yeah, maybe Kirsten, I'll hand it over to you to wrap us up.
Yeah, thanks everybody for coming. We really look forward to seeing you at your markets, getting out there and shopping with you and hearing how it's going. If you're a double up market, keep your eyes and ears open for more information from Sarah Thompson and her team. If you think you're a double up market but you haven't registered yet for this year, now is absolutely the time to get registered and set up with Double Up Food Bucks. And we also wanted to share out with you that we have just posted a job opening. It's a part-time contract position with the NMFMA to be a market manager liaison. So if there's somebody in your life that really has it down and knows how markets work and they would like a little side gig, we would love to hear from them. The application is at our website. There are links to it in our email, our newsletter that should be in your inbox. So talk it up, think it up. We're really looking for ways to support all of our managers and all the things that you do. And we would love to hear from any of you and anybody in your network that might be interested in helping us do that. I think that's all. Scott, did we miss anything?
I sure hope not, but if we did and you think of something later on, you know where to find us. You can email questions@farmersmarketsnm.org if you don't know who to contact. And we try to get that in the hands and under the eyeballs of the person who's got the best answers for you to support you during market season. So again, I'd like to echo thank you for your time and joining us today. This was a lot of fun and great to see all of you.